You know, every single time you click, scroll, or connect with someone online, there's this secret history of just pure brilliance behind it all. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and meet the unsung heroes, the people whose, well, radical ideas literally built the digital world we live in.
I mean, seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. What if the internet just vanished tomorrow? Your job, your friends, all the information you could ever want, poof, gone. It's kind of unimaginable, right? Well, for the real pioneers of the internet, that wasn't some crazy hypothetical. That was the world they lived in, and the very reality they were so determined to change.
So, we've all heard the story, right? That one single person, some lone genius, invented the internet. But honestly, that's a total myth. The reality is actually way cooler. The internet wasn't invented so much as it was woven together by this incredible collective of brilliant minds, with each one adding their own crucial thread. And that's the story we're going to uncover today.
All right, so where do we even start with a story this big? Well, we start with the first layer, the language of connection. See, before the internet could ever connect us, all of its different separate networks had to figure out a way to talk to each other. Yeah, back in the early days, you had all these different computer networks, but the problem was none of them could communicate with each other. It was kind of like having a room full of people all speaking totally different languages, with no translator in sight. They were basically just these isolated digital islands. And the solution to this problem was this brilliant thing called TCP/IP. It was developed by two guys, Vinton Cerf and Robert Kahn. You can think of it as a universal translator for computers, like an Esperanto for machines. This protocol, this set of rules, is what finally allowed those isolated islands to connect. It let them form what they called an internetwork, which, yeah, you guessed it, we just call the internet for short. Now, the real genius behind this universal language was a revolutionary concept called packet switching. And Cerf and Kahn, brilliant as they were, didn't just invent this out of thin air. They were really building on the work of other pioneers, guys like Baran and Donald Davies, who had already been kicking around this core idea. And it's such an elegant idea. Here's how it works. Instead of trying to send one giant file all at once, you break it up into these tiny little pieces called packets. Then, each of those packets zips across the network, finding its own fastest route, kind of like a bunch of cars taking different roads to get to the same place. Once they all arrive, they're just put back together in the right order. Super simple, incredibly efficient, and yeah, absolutely revolutionary. Okay, so the networks can talk. That's a huge step, but that's all techie, expert-level stuff. How did the internet become something for, us, for everyone? Well, that brings us to the next layer, a vision that was all about the human user. All right, I want you to picture this. The year is 1968. Most people haven't even seen a computer in real life, let alone used one. And on a stage in San Francisco, this guy, Douglas Engelbart, gives a 90-minute presentation that would go down in history as the mother of all demos. And this timeline, it really shows you just how far ahead of his time he was. Engelbart was showing off technology in 1968 that wouldn't hit the mainstream for decades. We're talking the 80s, the 2000s. He wasn't just predicting the future, he was literally building it right there, live on stage for everyone to see. Just look at this list. The computer mouse, maybe the one you're holding right now, hypertext, clickable links, real-time collaborative editing like in a Google Doc, video conferencing, all of it fully working in one demo. It's insane. The very foundation of how we use computers every single day was laid out more than 50 years ago. But Engelbart's radical ideas didn't just stop there on that stage. Oh no. They lit a fire under a whole generation of researchers, especially over at the legendary Xerox PARC. And that's where innovators like Alan Kay took these concepts and polished them into what we now know as the graphical user interface. The desktop, the windows, the little icons you click on. They're the ones who made the computer something you didn't have to be a scientist to use. They made it approachable. Okay, so we have the language so computers can talk, and we have the interface so people can use them. But this whole new digital world was, it was super fragile. What kept it from just falling apart? That brings us to our third and final layer, the silent guardians. You have to understand the early internet was unbelievably fragile. It was this constant round-the-clock battle just to keep it stable and secure. And this quote really says it all, right? Their mission was to keep this fragile new world alive. That was the mission for the early network engineers and security pioneers, the people working tirelessly behind the scenes. And what's truly remarkable is the foresight these people had. They weren't just putting out fires as they popped up. They were looking ahead, anticipating future problems. They saw things like network instability and system vulnerabilities and built solutions before they became disasters. They developed early forms of encryption and created stability protocols that are, believe it or not, still the bedrock of the internet today. And let's be clear, this isn't just some historical footnote. Their foresight is the entire foundation of our digital trust. Every single time you do your banking online, send a private message, or just browse without things crashing, that's them. The stability and security they built is the reason we can do all of that today.
So when you put all these layers together, the language, the user-friendly vision, the silent guardians, a whole new reality clicks into place. The internet isn't something that was just invented and sold to us. It's an inheritance. It's something that was passed down. It all comes back to that idea of a digital tapestry. It wasn't built by one person in one flash of genius. It was woven, thread by thread, over decades, by so many different hands. This is the internet's true origin story. And what an inheritance it is. We got the universal language, TCP/IP, that lets everything connect. We got the intuitive interface, the GUI, that lets all of us actually use it. And we got that deep foundation of trust and security that honestly keeps the whole thing from falling apart. So really, the next time you click or scroll or connect with someone, just for a second, remember the collective. Remember all those different people, the architects, the visionaries, the guardians, who made that one simple action possible for you.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question, doesn't it? As technology just keeps evolving faster and faster, what are the foundational contributions we're probably overlooking right now? Who are the unsung architects building our future? I'd love to know what you think.